Let's turn in our Catechism question to question number 44. Question number 44. Which is the second commandment? The second commandment is, Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Those of us who were raised in a Roman Catholic background probably had the same experience, that in reading the Bible, that was one of the first shocks that I received as a new believer in reading Exodus chapter 20, that this was not only in the commandments but was actually the second commandment. I had never heard of this as a Roman Catholic youth. I had learned the Ten Commandments, the so-called Ten Commandments, in school, but never once was it mentioned to me as a young child in the Roman Catholic Church that this was part of the Decalogue. And when I went to challenge the local priest, I was told that this was an appendage to the first commandment, which is a convenient excuse, but it's not an excuse at all. Quite clearly there is a distinction between the first and second commandment which we have here. The first commandment is that we are to have only one God. The second commandment is that we are to worship that God not in a wrong way, but in a right way, and that is very distinct and very different. It is not part of the first commandment. And then conveniently, and I'm sure I'm only speaking to those who know what I'm going to say, how they make up then the 10 is by splitting the last commandment into two. Therefore, coveting your neighbour's wife and coveting your neighbour's goods are separated into distinct categories on two different commandments. But this is the second commandment. And the second commandment here from Exodus chapter 20 verses 4 to 6, there's three parts that I would just bring your attention to. First of all, we have the restriction, then the requirement, and then the reason. First of all, the restriction. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. And the one thing you'll notice here is that we're not to make anything, and especially those things of which we know nothing. I mean, it says in heaven above. We don't know what the things in heaven are like, and we can't represent them. But then it goes further, or that is in the earth beneath. Even if we do know what things look like, we are not to make even them, or that is in the water under the earth. And back at that time, there was a lot of worship of marine life, so to speak. So all these three areas, none of these things were to be represented. But that brings us on to the second part, which really clarifies the first. All of these things which are made are not to be made in the context of religious service or worship. And it says both of these things in the requirement. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them. In other words, thou shalt not worship them nor serve them. We're not to worship or to serve anything that we make. And Jeremiah is full of this. Isaiah is full of this principle and the foolishness and the folly of worshipping anything that our hands have made. It makes absolutely no sense at all. But then thirdly, we have the reason. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. What God says is that those who make these images and those who worship them and serve them, it's an evidence that in fact they hate God. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. So this second commandment is so fundamental, not just because of our background, but it is fundamental, and we'll see this in the next week or two when we still deal with this commandment. This commandment is central to the regulative principle of worship. This is the commandment that states we are not to worship the God referred to in the first commandment in any way that we design. That's the principle. We are not to make our own forms of worship, our own objects of worship. Our hands are not to be seen in the worship of God. That is the principle in the second commandment. So which is the second commandment? The second commandment is, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.